Hello? Yeah. Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming. The next half hour, we will pay tribute to Jairo Gonçalves, a friend of many of us who are here today, and who passed away last month. I would like to thank his wife, daughter, and granddaughter who joined us today in this tribute and whose presence is an honor to us. Jairo was a professor in the Department of Mathematics here at IME-USP and a distinguished member of the Brazilian algebra community. He was a dear friend and will be greatly missed. Our program is divided into 3 parts. First, we will hear Arnaldo, one of his closest friends, talking on Jairo's life and career. Next, Javier Sanchez will make an impossible effort of squeezing in 15 minutes an overview of Jairo's many contributions to algebra. We shall end with a slide presentation of photographs of Jairo with his friends and family. So, Javier, please, if you please, if you could come and start.
So, again, it's time for the invitation, and it's it's a pleasure being able to talk about Jairo, even though circumstances are favorable to us. I will talk a little bit about Jairo, the man, and just a little bit about his career, since again, that's his family. That's where he was born. Was in a family of modest means, but at that time he had to enter the public school system. When I say he had to enter, that's something that is relevant when you think of it nowadays. Nowadays in Brazil, the public school system is quite bad, but at that time it was still quite good, and he was able to get a good education. And as most Brazilians at that time, he started his main philosophical, ideological commitment. Okay, he was serious, but not very religious, even in this condition. So there are many stories about Jairo's early days, but there is a very special one that deserves to be told. In 1964, there was a military coup in Brazil. It started a kind of authoritarian regime, and in 1968, it became a dictatorship. It was a coup within the coup. And there was a resistance movement. They were called terrorists by the government and freedom fighters by the others. Well, that's the usual thing. And Jairo got involved in some of these operations. Not a very serious involvement, but he got involved in that, in an operation as a spotter. Unfortunately, he wasn't very successful at that. He got caught, spent some time in jail, and that's bad. Okay. He was in his late teens. He was about to get into the university, but delayed entering the university, and it had later consequences too. But there is an upshot also, because after being in jail, he became for life an algebraic freedom fighter. Okay, so trying through free groups and free algebras. Well, after all, he got into the university, but that's part of his academic life, and I'll tell you about it later. Let's still to get personal. And I have an anecdote to tell you. Late 70s, I was studying abroad and came back in late 78 for a vacation. And Jairo, we were in contact, but at that time we used letters. I don't know. Well, that seemed that we were writing paper and sent through the mail. There was no email at the time. But at that time, the Passman's treatise in group rings had just came into print, and Jairo asked me to buy it. At that time, buying such a book in Brazil cost an arm and a leg and took forever to arrive. So, okay, I brought the book for him, and we met in a bar. Okay? It was actually, as an aside, I think at that time, Jairo, I don't think Jairo would have ever dreamt of actually meeting Passman and working with him, doing research for so many years. Okay, but I brought him the book. Okay, so we are at the bar, we're talking, and then he tells me quite happily he had found a girl that he was quite interested in. And if we see the pictures, we see that they were made for each other. Okay? It's a perfect pair, okay? It actually worked out. About 2 years later, they were married. And that marriage was a quite successful one and happy one, and lasted for the last for all their days, until now. It's a story also of coming from bad conditions. I mean, they weren't both Jairo and Rosa. They came from actually very modest backgrounds, and they both studied a lot and worked hard, and they kind of changed their, let's say, social and economic status. It's something that's quite commendable, very, very uncommon. Now, I told you this story, and they started a family quite quickly, and here are the kids, okay? Just let me tell you that the kids have grown up a little bit, so if you see them here, I think you will be hard-pressed to recognize them. Okay, but they're still there, and the place of the kids now has been taken off by the grandkids. And they have a full tribe, and here we have all associations, even Persil is embarking, but they were really happy. It's a happy moment. Okay, that's the family part. And let's talk a little bit about his academic life. Okay? He eventually got into USP, or got admitted into USP, and he finished, graduated in 74, and was immediately hired as an instructor. At that time, as was told just before, okay, at that time, there was a dearth of doctors, PhDs in mathematics. So, and there was a lot of work to be done. So they hired every good recent graduate to be an instructor, and that happened to Jairo. except that his previous adventures came to bite him in the back, and he was gently asked by the security forces to resign his position, or else, well, he did it. He resigned and found an engineering school in which they needed an instructor, and they weren't under this police vigilance. But he didn't stop studying. He continued. He got his master's degree, and later his PhD under the guidance of Cesar Cosino, who also taught him judo so that he could flip back all the police that came after him. And meanwhile, in between, there was a softening in the police regime. So, 1980, he was hired. Okay, and now, after he was hired, he finished his PhD, and then he continued his career here at IME-USP and rose to the ranks, became associate professor and full professor. He did about all sorts of things, about everything. Was coordinated teaching groups, and of course, he has a career in algebra that you'll be hearing more about. Wrote about 60-something papers. One thing that he was quite instrumental is organizing several congresses and group strings and blueprints. There was just one that finished last week. And one of these congresses recognized his work, okay, just 5 years ago. Now, to finish this part, I just want to talk about one thing that I consider one of Jairo's strongest personal qualities. Okay? And it's quite interesting that probably everybody who worked with him know about it. His persistence, tenacity. He didn't let go. When he started working on something, it was, well, to death. He really did it. And one thing that, when I thought about it, okay, it was an interesting realization that it was not just a quality of him, but it was a value for him. It was a value, and everybody that got email from Jairo got, at the end, his signature, this quotation. I find it also interesting that it comes from the Talmud, which culturally has nothing to do, especially with Jairo, but it kind of saying, well, you have to go for it. Okay? And that was Jairo. Okay? That was what he was doing. And if you're in doubt, you can ask for him at his co-authors, and now I didn't coordinate with Peter about pictures, photos, and maybe we are going to have some overlap later. Okay, but let's have a look at some of those co-authors. Now, for those that don't know, well, everybody knows Cesar and Dampasan, Darshan, Sego and Lichtman and Mazi. Okay, and let's see. And now we have Don Pass on the editor, and here he and Alexander Glickman are cooking some theorems. And Mazi is having fluffy thoughts. And now Leila and also Misha and some gleeful fellow I can't recognize. And Antonio with a full head of hair. And Angel and Cesar again, and well, some more, and Raul and Misha and Angel. And well, Miguel and Lucy weren't his co-authors, but they're still in the free picture, so that's okay. And here we are caught red-handed in this explicit act of co-authoring, okay? And just to finish, here we have a picture. Well, this photo is from that last GRGR, or that one that is 70th year. Well, last October we had the bad news that he got a tumor, and then, in spite of very good medical care and very loving care from his family and so on, he didn't make it, and he passed away, left us, and is missed.
Hi, hello. Well, thank you, Victor. Well, as Victor said at the beginning, I am going to talk about Jairo's scientific career. And as he said, it's impossible to talk about all his career in 15 minutes, so I will only give some glimpses of his work. So you have to know that there are much more about him in mathematics. Okay? So, but one of the things that should be clear from the beginning, okay, is that Jairo Gonçalves was an energetic and talented mathematician. This was said by Donald Passman, and mainly he had two research lines, one about division rings and the other one about group algebras. Just a look at his research, general look at his research. As Arnaldo said, he had at least 60 papers, in particular according to Central Black 66. And, well, he talked about his co-authors, so it is clear that he made serious mathematics with those co-authors. And he always published in very good journals. For example, he published papers in the Journal of Algebra, in the Proceedings of the AMS, in the Israel Journal of Mathematics, in the Journal of the London Mathematical Society, and many more, of course. And, well, about this general view of his career, what I find really impressive is that if you look at the mid-90s in 2020, then he published, on average, for 25 years, at least 2 papers every year on average. So that is somehow also what Arnaldo said, his persistence and his work every day. Okay? Also, according to the Massinet, he published even more, 79 papers. And, well, I've been told that his last paper with his master's student, Gabriel, has been accepted not long ago, so there will be at least 70, okay? And well, he got 465, at least 465 citations. Oh, well, okay, the list of the co-authors are not already told us, okay? So I will, first of all, okay, before beginning this, I will give, okay, some glimpses of his works, and well, you will see that most of the things that I will talk about his work are from the last 15 years, okay? And there are some reasons for that. First of all, because this is what I know better about Jairo, that's for sure, a reason. The second is that I contacted some of his co-authors, and I said them, please point something that you think it is good that I talk about Jairo, and most of them told me papers about the last 16 years. Okay, so it's not my fault entirely. Okay, and the third one is that his works during his first years, they were pioneering in his research lines. So that is unbearable. So that is something that cannot be measured, okay? But during these last 15 years, his results, because the theory was more developed and so on, the results are more well-rounded. So that is also another reason why I chose that part of his career. Okay, so first of all, I would like to say an important result of the work with Ángel del Río and Osniel Broche. Well, there was a conjecture in group rings which says the following, that if you have a field and G is a group, if G is a periodic group and the units of Kg satisfy a group identity, then Kg satisfies a polynomial identity. Okay? This conjecture was proved in the general case by Liu, but then the work of Jairo, Ángel, and Osniel says that if the group of units satisfy a weaker condition, that is that if the units of Kg satisfy a Lorentz polynomial condition, which is not satisfied by this algebra, is the free algebra generated by those two generators subjected to those relations, then the group ring satisfies a polynomial identity. Another line of research of Jairo was, as Arnaldo said there, he was always looking for free objects in division rings. Okay? And there is a conjecture of Alexander Litzman, which says the following. If D is a non-commutative division ring, then the multiplicative group D minus 0, okay, contains a free group of rank 2. This conjecture is still open, okay? And Jairo, early in his career, proved that for a large class of division rings, that is true. Okay? He proved that the Litzman conjecture is true whenever the division ring is finite dimensional. Okay? He proved even more. Okay? He proved this statement that if D is a division ring, finite dimensional over the center, and H is a subnormal subgroup of D, not contained in the center, then H contains a free subgroup of rank 2. Okay? Well, if you look at the paper, not even in the title appears this result. Okay? The paper was more oriented towards group rings. Okay, but in the middle, he proved this important result on the conjecture of Alexander. Also, as Arnaldo said, I would say around the 90s, they began to work on all together, okay? And I will need first an observation that is the following. If you have a division ring, R a subring of D, and S any ring, well, it is easy to see that if the group of units of S contain a free group, and there exists a ring homomorphism from R to S, such that in R there exist invertible elements whose images are the elements that generate a free group, then D contains a free group into generators, because those R1 and R2 generate a free group. Okay? Well, this observation was very important. Okay? In the words of Arnaldo, Jairo proved in his thesis using this alternative that the conjecture calls for finite dimensional division rings. Okay, this was the result before. Then we took from there in two different directions. One trying to verify the conjecture for larger classes of division rings and looking at related commutativity questions. The other one, which is the one that I am going to talk more, is about finding explicit free pairs in sub-finite dimensional division rings. And, the technique is something that Jairo used during his whole career, is that, there are large classes of finite dimensional division rings that are described as a vector space with a specific basis, and a multiplication table for the basis elements. For some classes, like quaternion algebras, the usual, something more general, the usual quaternions, or some cross products. The table is very common. Then the objective that they pursued at this point with Massi Silvani was to describe free pairs that look nice inside bases. Okay, so summing up, okay, that ring S, you put some algebra of quaternions. They made a really hard and a really detailed study of how to find free objects, free groups in those rings of quaternions. And then, of course, there was not easy. You had to find that ring R, that subring R of D, such that you have that homomorphism. Okay? Well, I know I have explained this, without many details, very general, because that is a bit involved, okay, but just to point out the importance of the result of these techniques that Jairo used during his whole career, is some words of Alexander Lichtman, who said that the following: I like all of Jairo's papers, but one of them became especially interesting for me. A paper in the Journal of Algebra where he, together with Arnaldo and Matthew Silvani, proved a beautiful and important theorem of free subgroups in the division rings generated by residual intersection-free nilpotent groups. It is one of those papers where they developed that technique that I said before. Well, in the words of Alexander Lichtman, this was a remarkable theorem, and its proof was, that technique that I said before. Okay? Well, now I want to talk about some of his results. One of his results with Jason Bell, and for that I need some definition, that is that of the skew polynomial rings. Okay? If you have a field, or in general a ring, but I will now specialize for fields. If you have a field, you have an automorphism of the field K, and you have a delta, which is a sigma derivation. It means that it satisfies that. Observe that if sigma is the identity, what you have is a usual derivation. Okay? Then you can construct a set, which is as an abelian group, is the usual polynomial ring, but now the coefficients do not commute with the variable. Okay? You have to have that condition. Okay? When you multiply x by a, the result is sigma of a x plus delta of a. Okay? This condition is necessary so that the ring that you will obtain is associated. Okay? Well, it is well known that this skew polynomial ring is an Ore domain, so it has an Ore division ring of fractions, so it has one can construct a division ring from them. Okay, so this skew polynomial ring, which I denote with that kind of brackets. And one of the results that he proved with Jason Bell was that if we have a field, sigma automorphism of k, delta sigma derivation, they proved that if the Ore ring of fractions of the skew polynomial ring is not commutative, then D contains a free non-cyclic subgroup. And this result does not depend on the characteristic, does not depend on sigma, does not depend on delta. Whenever it is not commutative, you find a free non-cyclic group there. And Bell was very happy about this result. Okay? Bell said that this was a very satisfying project where I felt we had obtained a definitive result. And we relied heavily on Jairo's encyclopedic knowledge of the field to work out a viable approach to this question. Being able, and he also said about Jairo in general, being able to work with Jairo was one of the truly great experiences in my life. I believe Jairo also felt we had something special when we worked together. And I confirm that he was very happy of his work with Jason. Well, he looked for free groups in division rings, but he also looked for free algebras in division rings. There is a conjecture of Makar-Limanov that says the following: D is finitely generated as a division ring, not as an algebra. Okay, so it's finitely generated using some product and inversion of elements. Okay, an infinite dimensional covariant center, then D contains a free C algebra in two generators. Okay, Jairo made a lot of work about this conjecture. Okay, he proved in many cases where it was true. Okay, the conjecture hasn't been proved yet, or disproved. Okay, it's not known. But I want to talk more about results, not on the conjecture, but related to the conjecture. Okay? The third one is result favorite of mine, of the ones of Jairo, because of its simplicity in its statement, and also in its proof. It's a paper of just like 3 pages or more, almost, and says the following: suppose that this is a division ring that satisfies Makar-Limanov conjecture. It was proved in many cases that Makar-Limanov conjecture was true, that D contains in fact non-commutative free group algebras. Okay, but then Jairo and Shirvani proved that that was not a coincidence. Okay, they proved that if you have a division ring with center Z, and if Z is uncountable and D contains a free Z algebra of rank 2, then D contains a Z free group algebra of rank 2. Okay, so this was one of the more important results to somehow pass from the Makar-Limanov conjecture to the following conjecture that says that if D is finitely generated and infinite dimensional over Z, then D contains a free Z subalgebra in 2 generators. Well, in the last part of his career, Jairo they liked very much the following problem, which are versions of the conjectures that I talked before, for rings with involutions. No? So we have a field, a K-algebra, a K-linear map is a K-involution if those two things are satisfied, and an element is symmetric if it is invariant and involution. So one natural question that Jairo asked was that if you have a division ring and those with an involution, does D contain free pairs generated by symmetric elements? Does D contain free non-commutative subalgebra freely generated by symmetric elements? And these are involutive versions of the conjectures by Lippmann and Macarlema. Okay, and one of the results that Donald Passman liked very much was one of the last results they put together that says that if D is a division ring with a central field K of characteristic different from 2, and you have a K involution in D, and N is a normal subgroup of the multiplicative subgroup of D, then if G is a star stable on abelian subgroup of N, that is either torsion-free polycyclic bifinite but not abelian bifinite, or finite of order, then N contains a free pair, 2 elements that generate a non-commutative free group, which are symmetric. Okay? And well, Donald Passman said that this result was not only important because of the result, but because of the proof. They need to extend a theorem of George Bergman, and well, he thinks that that result is interesting in itself. And Donald Passman also said this about working with Jairo. Jairo's expertise always led the way in our joint work. He knew the next stage to consider, the expected outcome, and a rough approach to the proof. Well, and I want to talk also about this thing of division rings with involution, about a nice result, a very nice result of Vitor Ferreira and Erika Fornanori, who says that suppose you have a group and you have an involution on the group, that means a map that satisfies those two things, then that involution can be extended to a K involution of the group ring in the natural way. Then if Kg is an order domain, then a star can be extended to a K involution of the order division ring of fractions. So we already have now a division ring with an involution. Then, for example, you take as a group the free nilpotent group of class 2 generated by 2 elements. That means that group that is placed, well, it's very important in the theory of groups. Then the result that they prove is the following. So suppose that D is the division ring of the order division ring of fractions of the group algebra Kg. Suppose that star is a K involution on D induced from an involution of D, any one of them. Okay? Then D contains a free K algebra of rank 2 freely generated by symmetric elements. Okay? Well, so somehow these are like some important results in Jairo's career, and now I want to talk a bit more about other aspects of his career. Jairo had four, let's say, pure postdoc students. Okay, he had for another postdoc, which was already a professor, that he came here to work with him. But Vitor Ferreira, Eduardo Tengan, Paula Burger Veloso, you, and me, okay, sorry, and me, we all made postdocs with Jairo, and well, they all had some words about Jairo, but I have seen all of them, and I agree with all of them, and the things that are going to be said could be interchanged because we all agree about that. For example, Victor said that Jairo was one of the most enthusiastic researchers I have ever met, and without a doubt, he loved what he did. And proof of that is that, as far as I know, none of us, before knowing Jairo, we did not work in those things. It was after we met Jairo that we began to work in the search of the objects in division rings. Well, Jairo was always available to exchange ideas, answer questions, and, well, Eduardo and all were able to learn a lot from Jairo, who was always a very pleasant person and with a lot of energy. And, well, that's true. He was always, every week, we had at least a 2-hour meeting with Jairo to talk about how was the research going. Jairo's supervision helped me mature as a mathematician and summoned the courage to enter and pass my first concurso, and, well, position, okay? Well, that's also absolutely true, okay, because when you made a postdoc with Jairo, it was usually a postdoc of at least 2 years, or with the possibility of at least 2 years. So that was a postdoc where you didn't have to think about what am I going to do next, whatever, and you just focus on research, and you work a lot. And also, he always encouraged his students about, well, a recurrent question of him was, when are you going to make a concurso? When are you going to apply for a position? And he was very supportive on that. Okay? And well, I just want to end this talk somehow talking about our research group here at IME-USP with Jairo. The group has some, like, in the last 15 years, Cesar Porcino, Jairo, of course, Dokuchaev, Vitor, Raul, and me. Jairo was very important for the group as it is, okay? Because, for example, Raul was a PhD student of Jairo. Dokuchaev, Vitor, and I, we just came here to make, invited by him. We liked very much, and we decided to stay. Okay, that's in part, a great part, because of Jairo. So somehow our Jairo was key in the research group here in Sao Paulo. Okay, so I would like to finish just saying a big thanks to Jairo, and thank you too for your attention.
Thank you.